in recent times, I've been just personally seeing, it wasn't even in my life, like a crazy movement of God. Has anybody else been seeing it? Just in neighborhoods, churches, all over the place, just a crazy movement of God, like people changing lives. Churches just rising up, doing outreaches to neighborhoods. And I just want to ask you guys a quick question. It's not just a question, it's kind of like a public declaration. You guys witnessed a movement of God. Now, if you are bold enough and have enough faith to declare right now that you want to be a movement of God, not just watch, but be the actual movement of God, just raise up your hand if you actually want to be it. So for the people who raised up their hand and declared that they want to be a movement of God, I believe that this word is actually right in your ballpark. I believe that God's going to speak something great into your life right now. So let's open up to Ephesians chapter 4. And we're just going to dissect the word of God. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called. Worthy of a calling which we were to be called. You know, worth is worth is not face value. What you see is not always represent what something is worth. You know, when they just dig jewels up from the ground, the worth of them might not look, from the outside that beautiful. They're still got dirt on it. They're still out of shape. They're ugly. You wouldn't wear it on your finger. But it's worth something. It's worth a whole lot, most likely. And so being worthy of this calling, here's what the Word of God describes. To be worthy of a calling with all loveliness and gentleness and long-suffering, bearing with one another in love. So we have in all loveliness, meaning humbleness, in all gentleness, long-suffering, patience, bearing with one another in love. So, worthiness of your calling, we all have some kind of a call. If you take, for example, a businessman and ask him what his calling is, and if he tells you it's business, and you actually have seen the fruits of his life, you've seen the success in a businessman's life, and you ask him how he actually reached there. I personally work with many different businessmen, and at all times, if you look at the back of their life, if you look at their actual hard work, they always roll up their sleeves. And when they got no other way to do it, they roll up their sleeves and they do the work themselves. They humble themselves down. They are patient. And they are actually worthy of where they are right now because they put in the work. And their goals and their business is actually worth something. And we're going to tie this up into the rest of this word in a little bit. Kind of like a face value, I want to bring a joke a pastor once told me, or not just me, he told the congregation. He was saying that a man and a wife once came out of a church, and the man said to his wife, "Well, honey, why are you still smiling? We're not in church anymore." It's just kind of an overlook of a value of something that it looks like something, but is not actually worth anything. Let's keep reading the Bible. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called in one hope of your calling. Again, being the movement of God, being worthy of your calling, becoming worthy of your calling, becoming patient with your calling. You're called to something, right? Say, for example, people are called to be doctors. People are called to be mathematicians, lawyers, policemen, firefighters. Now, a lot of times, I've made this excuse before, and a lot of times I heard this excuse when a time comes for you to come out and preach to somebody, speak the word of God in somebody's life. And God called me to do this for this reason, so I'm just going to do this reason. I'm not going to speak to anybody, right? If I'm in the operating room, I'm not going to speak to anybody, or if I'm a lawyer and I'm in the law office, I'm not going to speak the word of God to anybody because I'm called to be a lawyer. Now, the word of God clearly says that there is one body and one spirit, just as you were called in one hope of your calling. Each one have different callings, right? We all different parts of a body, but one body. We all move differently, but in one body, one hope. Your calling, to find your calling will always still have one vision, is to reach people. your calling, your personal calling that God's calling you to be, if you want to be a movement of God, it's always going to be to reach one vision, is to reach other people, whether directly or indirectly. Now, if we read it a little bit further, 7. But to each one of us grace was given according to the measure of Christ's gift. This is a subject that many many look at other people, and you could see doors open up to certain people. For example, I heard people getting into schools by like the crazy grace of God. I got into a school, I had a 2.1 GPA into college. I don't know how I did, by the grace of God only. Many people have an open door, and when you're standing here on the left side, and you're like, I want to be a successful person just like that guy. And I want to have the same grace just like this person having in their life right now. And you begin to kind of see and kind of copy the movements of their doing. Well, the Word of God is saying that your calling has grace, a measure of your grace. Meaning, when you answer your own calling, you begin to have a grace of God that is according to your calling. The doors by which God is calling you into begin to open to you, but they don't open to your friend maybe. If you turn a little bit further, it says, the old you, I'm sorry, it doesn't say that. Mine is subjected as the new man. Basically, what Paul's saying here is that when you're a new man, you have to start fighting the old self where you're used to anger, where you used to live, and the life basically of who you used to be. But it says that if you heard God does not teach this. He says that you must put off concerns of your former conduct and the old man which grows corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and to be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man which was created to the God in true righteousness and holiness. And so we have this person that we're trying to leave behind because God gave us a new life, a spiritual calling to be something. And here God actually gives us very good points. Not points, actually, he gives us an armor. It says that God put on the whole armor of God, that you may fight things which are not of the flesh but of the Spirit. Everything we do, everything we fight is of the Spirit. And the first things that God says is, put on the belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, prepare and become worthy of your calling, meaning prepare your feet to run. Get the shield of faith, which will extinguish all arrows, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, and pray in the Spirit. So with all this said, what God spoke into my life actually like a few days ago, because I was wondering, Jesus, what do you want me to speak on? What do you want me to talk about? And he said, well, look into your life. You know, last Sunday, this Sunday that was here, I've never felt this before, but I felt such love that God had on my personal life, that I was sitting at a restaurant eating out with my fiance, and I just had this such great peace and love that every person that I saw coming, I just kind of, in my heart, I was just like, man, if they only knew the grace and love that God had on their life. And I felt that personally also as a personal calling. That God spoke into my life and he said, hey, you're feeling this? This is what you could do. This is what you want to do. I'm giving you an armor of God where you have to take up the belt of truth. Well, you have to take up the breastplate of righteousness. Become worthy. Prepare your feet. You have to take up the shield of faith. And on your calling to be a move of God, not just to watch the move of God, you'll have many, many, many tribulations where the devil, he's always going to want to knock you down, knock you off your feet, knock you off your feet. But this shield of faith that we have is the one thing that is protecting us, because when we have faith in something, no matter how hard or no matter where we are, because we believe, we don't fall. Helmet of salvation, word of the Spirit, and pray. Pray like your secret room where you pray to God is the one place that's going to allow you to be a move of God.